Hi, I'm Chuck Wolf, and welcome to episode 11 of Place Parts. And today is the day that Place Parts has been structured around, launch day, 22nd of February 2021. I'm here in a market setting to both celebrate a smaller city, even in the time of pandemic, and to remind us all about the complex interrelationships within the city that the book addresses. The book is, as you may have gathered by now, a bit of a personal story about how I've learned to interpret the city over time. From my first book, Urbanism Without Effort, to the current book, I've essentially gone from a physically oriented city to a city that is much more interdisciplinary, or as my late father would say, ecumenical. And we're going to talk about the philosophy behind the book and some of our early thinking in a moment with the gentleman who helped enable it. My collaborator, Tigran Haas, from the Center for the Future of Places at the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. As I've mentioned, this book was really a product of a lot of time that I've spent in Stockholm over the last few years, which was shamefully or shamelessly cut short by the pandemic. Here with us is the book enabler and chief collaborator on the cover, Dr. Tigran Haas, who is coming to us from Tigran Haas town. Where are you? Are you in Stockholm?
I'm in Stockholm at KTH, and this is my town. See that little pin over there? That's the Center for the Future of Places. Actually, you're showing this where it is.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow. Yeah.
I don't remember your name in the sky there, though.
No, there you go. I like the word enabler. Yeah. Richard Florida called me a steward. I like the word steward.
But you like enabler?
No, because it suits your background much better. Steward, right? Steward.
Well, I like enabler, but anyway.
You are a scholar of English language, Chuck, so you know one word has so many meanings in English. It's beautiful. Yeah.
For the devoted, increasing audience of Place Parts.
You mean our fans?
Yeah.
The fan base, of course.
I wanted to just have a chat with Tigran about how this all started, and I think it was back in 2017 where I had the honor of coming to Stockholm, really around my second book, Seeing the Better City, that we started talking about working together and collaborating on a book which was really around the art and perhaps science of urban observation. You were kind enough to help.
But you're forgetting, the main thing was when I read Urbanism Without Effort, as a digital copy, I said to one of my colleagues, here's a real urbanist. There's very few of those real ones.
Yeah, so whatever.
This is a guy I need to get in touch with. And it took some time before the second book came out. And then we invited you to Stockholm, and it was perfect timing.
Right. And you helped Island Press reissue Urbanism Without Effort as a hard copy book. Really not that long ago now. It seems, of course, forever, but that was only 2 years ago. But in that subsequent 2 years, we put our heads together to think about what was really next with the project that I was, kind of managing for the center, and that was called the Cities in Context Project. And it derived from a lot of experiences I'd had with Seeing the Better City, and that is that so many similar issues and forces are at play in urban areas around the world, and they manifest themselves physically in a different way. What are we going to do about that? And we used to talk about, maybe from a social scientific perspective, looking hard at the city rankings and analyzing whether
Monocle, we looked at Mercer.
Yeah, and I talk about this in the preface, I think. We had this kind of maybe lame brain idea that the highest ranked cities were going to be truest to themselves, or the most authentic, or the most aware of their character. And the more I got into that, I realized that those words meant nothing, and that a context index was a great idea, but it was probably going to be very difficult to develop and apply. And so what happened is we came up with something else, which, as I mentioned a moment ago before we got together here, is really as much of my own personal journey out of a physical orientation and a regulatory orientation towards a more complex interpretation of what the city is in times of change. And then we found that it actually has some application to spinning out of this pandemic, because chaos and change are rampant.
Oh, we also discussed, you remember, because I consider you as the follower, the natural follower of Willie Holly White, the sort of the, you know, Lefebvrean practical guy on the street. You also felt that there's something wrong with the placemaking term and the way it's being interpreted. Nothing against Project for Public Spaces or any similar organization, but it's been sort of degraded and simplified to the max, Chuck.
Right, and that's certainly something that I wax poetic about. And as I've said, with very, very good intentions. It's not that I don't believe in the cause or don't honor all of the work of the Kent family, for instance.
Of course.
But in the last episode, I talked a fair amount about this, and as much as we could within 15 minutes with Sherry Dobbin here in the London area, because Sherry has taken placemaking and to a very high level and helped the public and private sectors understand that there's other stakeholders around the table, and worked on some very involved workshops on how to choreograph places as they are changing. And
but also these things, the terms you mentioned, authenticity, desirable images of a town, context based. I remember your travels and your talks in Portugal. Also, this book matured, or there were elements of it that matured in the Portugal trip.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Thanks to Vitor Pereira and Filipa Cardoso in Portugal, who I hope to have on one of these days. That's what developed the very, very firm attention to context that Matthew Carmona at UCL kindly points out in his comments about the book, that this book in the end is a book about context. And
absolutely. And I also see it as it's a book about heritage, Chuck, about heritage urbanism. Apparently this term was coined by two of my colleagues at Zagreb University, Obad Shchitarotsi and his wife, because Christian, my colleague, and I, we used it and said, well, you have to give us proper reference, because that's what we're talking about, heritage urbanism. This sort of desirable image that celebrates and enlarges the present while making connections to the past and the future, right? That's, I mean, your book is it almost lands into the heritage urbanism field.
It does and it doesn't. I'm sensitive to that, because in the United States, in this era of progressive thinking and an interpretation towards social justice and equity, people think that if one even touches upon what's called their historic preservation, one is denying the role of the current residents and affordability, and it's a pathway to gentrification.
Correct.
I'd like to think what you're saying, I know this is what you're saying, is I actually accept the challenge in the book of trying to figure out the role heritage has at the same time that one is dealing with the climate change issues and the natural systems and the social justice issues and everything that's on the table. Reminds me a lot of when I was practicing law. I had a specialty in the restoration of brownfield sites, and people would argue the same issues there: brownfields versus heritage preservation versus social justice. And if I may, I think the point we're both making is that that's really what's going on. It's what Sherry called in the last episode from her exhibit in Moscow about Times Square and what she choreographed there. It's what she calls it, and I know you'll appreciate this, a theater of the absurd. You know, that's
I like that.
Yeah.
Almost like Richard Sennett would coin it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get a a handle around here. And
Sure. But I think what you mentioned is also this thing, when I say heritage, it's also the current heritage, or the unearthed heritage, or the forgotten heritage. Maybe this pulls people into it. And what was it? I think Kevin Lynch said once that the image must be flexible, consonant with external reality, and above all in tune with our biological nature. So kind of, I think this book opens doors. And of course I said it because I'm hoping that Prince Charles will read it. Of course you and I will have the doors open to the royal family for a while, although we are not royalists, but still.
Well, you know, who knows? But
who knows?
So
I mean, the beauty of it, the book and the content, it covers a number of these interlaced urbanism fields, which is great. Like, you look at your picture behind you, the cover of the book is simply amazing.
Oh well, this is
stories.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is Inverness in Scotland. And of course, what I was trying to convey was these multiple forces. We have, I guess, to the, I don't know which side the viewer will see, but the green space there is Inverness Castle. We have a project under construction. We have two individuals who probably weren't born in Scotland. We have a heritage facade a bit done over behind. We have the light, we have the clouds, we have this ambience that is also very much a part of what a city is, and of course the photography and the art that are in the book. So yeah, this is very, very purposeful, and I'm not sure everyone understands that at first glance, so I really appreciate your pointing it out. Well, Tigran, you've had for the last several years at KTH, at the center, you've had slightly interrupted by the pandemic, but you've had a research agenda at play that has, based on the funding entity that also is responsible for this book, thank you, Axon Johnson Foundation, but was very oriented towards public space and development of databases around public space. And you've had some of the leading academics in the world.
Professor Setelo, which is writing a book on why public space matters. Kicker, looking at the fine grain of retail in a street, urban fabric. We had yours, of course, your project with the context and authenticity. Then we had also Who Owns the City. We didn't touch much upon, I think that's I'm a little bit disappointed, a little bit on cultural heritage, but this is where your project really covered it.
Yeah, well, it's at least an open door for further research.
Sure. And then we also have, projects on urban loneliness, many facets of public space, and seeing how public space can facilitate maybe the renewal of social capital in some way. Sort of Putnam, neo or post-Putnam world. How does it look like?
Right. And as I'm now 3 to 4 years out of a daily American regimen, I really even more appreciate how the center became a clearinghouse for these sorts of ideas. Although some might say, well, it's at a leading Nordic technical institution, it's Ivy Tower, but you know what? No, it isn't, because you really took on a lot of the day-to-day forces and how they play off these urbanism issues.
Or as you remember, through even our Athena talks and Delphi's, which one of you have been part, and the second one, the other one you moderated, we almost like filtered all these issues, everything from racial injustice to current heritage perspectives. So there was a lot of
the role of
debates and good things.
Yeah, and the role of natural systems are a number.
For sure. I mean, when you mentioned that thing with everything happened connected to Black Lives Matter, and I remember Karen Franks talk about the monuments. How do we, what's our perception through history? Which monument of whom? What does it mean for which group?
Oh yeah. I mean, you covered the gamut. It's a much treasured collection of research that I'm sure will stand the test
And
of
these
time.
books, this book, for example, this is the gold. This is the diamond we find in South Africa, right? In the mines, like in the
hopefully not the South African variant that.
No, not the blood diamonds they're from, right?
Okay, well, I cannot thank you enough for your support over the years, and we're going to go forth from today, launch
Thank
day,
you, Chuck.
Monday.
If it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be anything. So
Monday, 22nd of February and beyond. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, it'll be all good. So
it will be a #1 bestseller. So
yeah,
that's what it is. People just have to buy it. And then you and I will go and talk to Anderson Cooper and CNN, and he will say, "How did you manage, guys? What the hell is this?"
Yeah, we can only dream. But hey, I'll be back in Stockholm one of these months, years. But thanks very much. We'll keep talking as we always do. Okay.
My good friend. See you soon.
Yeah. Well, I hope you've enjoyed hearing about the background of the book and learning about Tigran's point of view about what we've developed. It's an exciting time. We've already received more attention in different disciplines than I expected. We're #1 in sociology in new releases in Amazon, which excites me a great deal because that was part of the goal, to grow beyond the narrow urbanist niche and talk about these issues that you've heard about today in a much broader way. So that's all, and we'll see you again later in the week on Place Parks.